Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, May 10th at 9:30 a.m., and this is the monthly meeting of the Council on Aging Board. The board adheres to the open meeting law, and Robert's Rules of Order are followed during these proceedings. I'm Jean Campanello. I'm chairperson of the board. In attendance are Harley Luke, director of the Senior Center, Renee D'Argento, the outreach coordinator, and board members Lori Jones, secretary, Betsy Zug, Alex Roman, Minu Sharma, and Arun Subramanian. We also have a representative from the Community Preservation Committee, and that is Gail Islanian. Welcome all. And we will begin by calling the meeting to order and reviewing and accepting the minutes of the April 2023 meeting. Are there any comments, any additions, deletions, or amendments?
I think that the spelling of smock, if I'm recalling, S-M-O-C, no K.
That might be true.
Probably auto-corrected.
Help me,
So it should be what?
S-M-O-C, it's Southern
Okay.
Middlesex
Okay.
Opportunity Council.
all right. It's in 2 locations, I think. Okay.
Yes.
All right, S-M-O-C, got it. Thank you.
I just had a point for clarification. At the end, under new business, old business, there's a statement that says, since we no longer have one full-time van driver, the assistant director's job description has been revised to include help. I understand the help part, but what do you mean, since we no longer have a full-time van driver?
I don't know what that sentence means.
Maybe I misunderstood something when we were meeting.
Where in the minutes is that?
It's near
It's-
the end, 3rd page.
First sentence on the 3rd page. It's right here if you would like.
So I might have misunderstood something you said.
So it's not the assistant director's job description, it would be actually that van driver's job description.
All right, that was, okay, I did mishear. So it would be the van,
Since we no longer have one full-time van driver, so it should have been that we are looking at it, the job description, the assistant director portion, that shouldn't be there.
should I just take out the whole sentence then?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Because we're replacing a full-time van driver who left,
Right,
so.
Yes.
okay.
What we were doing was revising their job description, was what we're doing.
All right, thank you.
All right, motion to accept the minutes as amended. All in
moved.
favor?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Gail, welcome. Thank you
Sure.
for joining us. Would you like to share some thoughts?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here this morning. Such a beautiful morning. I can't think of anything better to be doing than talking about possibilities for Shrewsbury through the Community Preservation Act. I'm not sure exactly how much you are familiar with the Community Preservation Act, so I'll just kind of give you a little bit of background to fill you in. In 2000, there was a ballot question in town that was overwhelmingly supported by the residents to affix a 1% tax on your property taxes after some adjustments. And that money that is collected goes into a special kitty for what's called Community Preservation Act. And that's to support open space and recreation, community housing, and historical preservation. And it's so important because the taxes that are levied through that are matched by an allotment from the state in a fund that comes from money that is generated through deeds, and when you register, when you, what do you call it? Record. When you record a deed or transactions, a portion of that money goes into this general big fund, and it's distributed through the communities that participate in the Community Preservation Act. So it's really a great win-win for Shrewsbury, and it's been very well received. This is our first funding year. Although it was passed in 2000, it takes time to get the plan together, and the Community Preservation Committee was established with 4 community members and 5 members from different agencies in town. The Historical Commission, which I represent, the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, Cemetery Commission, and for the Housing Housing Authority. So those, we meet once a month. We developed a plan, and then we started taking, this past year, we started taking applications for projects from the community. We received 13 proposals, 9 of which we recommended to go to town meeting. So at town meeting, those proposals will be voted on by town meeting members, and if they pass those proposals, then they will be implemented next year in the community. And there's 4 historical preservation projects, and there's 5 open space and recreation projects that are coming forward. So these are projects that normally wouldn't be able to be funded in any other revenue stream because the municipal budget is tight, and those kinds of projects usually get put on the back burner. So this fund really does support what the community wants and what the community is looking for. So as our committee meets every month, we're always wanting to get the community's feedback as to what they feel the needs of the town are. And this opportunity today is for you to kind of think about what you would like to see happening in the town as far as projects that would benefit not only the seniors, but just anybody in the community. Some of the projects that are coming forward this year, just to give you an example, there's an assessment of all the parks in town to see what the needs for the parks are. So that in the recreation department, they're doing an assessment of all the parks and the community parks, the little neighborhood parks, as well as the Dean Park and the larger parks, to see what the parks need. And then after that assessment is done, then they'll prioritize what those needs are and then put forth proposals to take care of those needs. There's the redoing of the tennis courts at Dean Park. There's an open space land acquisition that's coming forward. Historical preservation, there's an assessment of the pergola at Prospect Park. There's assessment. A lot of these things are assessments at this point because they have to find out what the needs are, and then they'll go forward if it's a possible project. So like the cemetery restoration of the historic section of the cemetery is in really terrible condition. So there's a company that will come in and assess all those grave sites to see if they can be fixed or if they can't be, or what the deal is, and then they'll go forward with a proposal to fix that. So lots of different things like that. Your needs may be different as far as senior. I'm a senior as well, and I'm thinking, okay, what would I like to see? Maybe it's improvement of your bocce, or shuffleboard or recreational things like that. But I mean, it's just anything that you can think of that would benefit the community. We would like to hear from you, and if you have ideas now that you're thinking of, like, yeah, what if, or if you ask that question, or what's the possibility of this happening, or what if this was to occur? Put those adjectives in front of it and think, that could be a project, and maybe that's something that we could bring forward to the committee. we look for people in the community to bring forth this is the whole idea of this community preservation, is that the community is involved in what happens. It's not the administration particularly or one group of people, but everybody kind of entering into the process. So I'm here today to kind of get some feedback from you as to what you think the needs are and what the goal should be of the Preservation Act and how it can benefit Shrewsbury.
Well, a couple of the issues that we've been addressing as a committee have been something like a community garden, which hasn't really resolved itself to our satisfaction because we really don't have the, not so much the space, but we don't have the personnel to do that. But a community garden area for all citizens, whether it's seniors and or others, would be
Right.
really something that would coordinate well with what our thoughts have been. The other piece that might work well is, in the past, the senior center has had raised bed gardens for for the seniors to be able to do some planting and
Right.
take care of. And I don't know if that's an option for for rebuilding, because the ones we had are no longer functional.
Okay, yeah. So, yes, that's a possibility. As far as the community garden, you're not looking at that as particularly on site. It could be anywhere.
We are no longer looking at a community garden. It did not factor well into our plans for
Right.
what we wanted to
Okay.
do. So that's sort of off the table right now.
Do you see seniors going to another location for a community garden? Can you see that
Yes.
happening? Okay. Because that is in the larger scope of things. Community garden has come up quite frequently in discussions. So I think the site is what we have to look for, and then the group of people that is going to take ownership of that community garden to maintain it and the functioning of it. And that's a big item. Dog park's another one that's come up a lot.
Uh-huh.
Splash pads for kids, things like that.
I think in general, the social opportunity, the opportunity to be active, while they're outside, agree with the garden, dog parks, that's what we get. We get that a lot. More pickleball courts, because the ones that are around town, like as you mentioned, they need some repair, but there's not enough for 40,000 people to use.
Right. Yeah, it's limited. What about trails and, do seniors participate in walking and?
Yep. So the senior center has a walking club. I know that, the active seniors, anybody that's 60 and over, like to use the trails. And I would say that if more trails are made, or if they're refurbished, they need to be, some of them need to be ADA compliant.
Right. That is one thing that's coming before this cycle is compliancy of the number 5 schoolhouse over on Old Mill Road and Main Street. That's been closed for so long because it's not ADA compliant, and they can't open it up for the public. So that's another assessment that's being done to see how they can refit that to be ADA compliant without disturbing the historical value of it. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking for, because that's how Community Preservation Act was initially, brought to us
Sure.
by, because those are the things that you can't get done with municipal budgets. There is the Trails Committee is working very hard to find parcels of property that can connect the trails so that there's a connectivity through the whole town, which would be great, because no matter where you would be in town, you could access a trail and utilize it. So recreation opportunities for seniors is probably, or for anybody, is probably a high on everybody's list. Yeah.
So nature is really important to a lot of people, getting out, and I think a lot of people found that out during COVID.
Absolutely.
And along the lines of open space and trails, It would be nice for people to have, if you had a trail that had native trees and plants ID that people could look at.
Yep.
And maybe information on kiosks about things like
That's a
that.
great idea.
Bird species that inhabit, or animals that inhabit, things like that for people to learn about. And I'm also involved with the town climate change group.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about, open space a little bit and carbon sequestration of, the lands and the trees and things like that. So a great way to educate people on those issues as well.
I would imagine in that whole trail system, for me, it would be important to have respite spots as well, someplace where you can sit
Benches
and
and
rest,
things,
because
yeah.
not,
Oh, yeah.
not everybody can walk miles at a time.
That's
You know,
right.
so an area like that would be nice as well.
Potentially
Alec,
water
I'm sorry.
stations. and-
I'm sorry,
Oh, sorry about that.
Alex.
So Gail, what's the time frame for this? When do you need these ideas?
Well, it's, normally there's a cycle, a September proposal for, we would look at what the eligibility of your proposal would be, and then it goes through the whole vetting process, and you do your presentation, and then it goes to town meeting. But at our last meeting, we decided that that's a bit restrictive for people, because you might come up with an idea that, hey, we need to do this right away because it's time sensitive. So we decided, starting in July, when the new year starts, that we'll go on a rolling basis. So you can actually put in a proposal at any time. And then we would look at it, and as long as it would be 90 days before the next town meeting, it could get into that town meeting. So it would be a little tight. If you were to get something in this July, then it would have to be 90 days before the next town meeting, which is usually in the fall. We usually have a town meeting in the fall. That's been pretty regular, so that's why we've kind of figured we could do almost 2 cycles, where we could present things at fall town meeting and the spring town meeting. So depending on the proposal and how quick you could get it in, it's possible that you could get into the funding cycle for this fall.
So Gil, are
But if it
you
was a
asking,
big proposal, the thing is you do have to, there's an application process online. If you go to the Community Preservation Commission in the town website, all the application material and eligibility materials and everything is on there. So you can kind of go through that. You do have to have a town sponsor, like if it's a recreation project, then you would probably go to the Recreation Department or Conservation Department or something like that and pair up with, so somebody is kind of not sponsoring you, but kind of behind you so they can help you through the process. But all that material is on the website. There's quite a bit of it. It's a lot to read through, but hopefully it's self-explanatory.
are you asking us for ideas today? Or are you suggesting that if we have an idea, we submit a proposal?
Either way. What I'm looking for today is ideas to bring back to the committee, so that as we develop our plan, every year we have to tweak our plan and re-look at it again. So these are ideas that we would like to see come forward, because that's what the community is looking for. And if there's a consistent, like the trails or the
Garden?
community garden, yeah, those things keep coming up all the time. So it's an incentive to say, look, we need to get people out there working on these, because that's what people want.
Okay.
If you do have a proposal, by all means, put it in as soon as whenever you want, because even if it doesn't get into this cycle, it's in the works. And we have to kind of prioritize based on funding. The funding is actually pretty good. What happens is, when the money is generated through the tax levy, and then we get the allotment from the state, it's divided up according to mandated ways. 10% of that money has to go into either 10% into historical preservation fund, 10% into open space and recreation, and 10% into community housing. We've designated 5% into, you have to put some money into administrative costs, so 5% goes into that fund. The rest goes into a general pot. So this year, there was approximately a little over $106,000 in each of those categories, those three categories. That has to be used specifically for that department, nothing else. But you can take money from the general fund as well. So looking forward, obviously, we're not spending all that money this year because we want to bank some of it. So looking forward, we're guaranteed almost $100,000 for each of those. That doesn't go a long way, but as you bank it, each year, you have more and more and more.
Of course.
Towns like Northborough that have been in this Preservation Act since its inception 20 years ago have millions of dollars in their coffers. So, they can do projects that are huge. It's going to take us time to build up that funding, but it's possible.
Of course. Are there other?
Is there any other?
Yeah, I had one pressing issue for quite some time. It's lack of a permanent volleyball court in Shrewsbury. You either have to go to the expensive clubs or you have to go through Park and Recreation, which only has it for adults. Even in high school, we don't have boys volleyball here. So if we could have, in fact, not just one centralized location, but say we have 10 precincts here. So if each of those areas could have their courts where kids can go, adults can go and play, they can come together. And that would be really helpful.
Okay, great.
Are there other comments from board members? We are a bit on a time constraint.
Sure,
so,
absolutely. I don't want to take up too much of
I
your
don't
time,
want
but-
to prevent anyone from sharing, but
Well, I appreciate it. And if you have any ideas that come to you as a board or individually or in your communities, you can reach out to the planning department, send them there, or the commission. We work through the planning department.
Okay.
So either through the commission website or the planning department, and that information will get back to us and we'll process it. And appreciate all your
Okay.
input and see what we can do.
thank you so much for
Okay,
being here.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have an item agenda for the Friends representative. I don't see, have you heard whether, okay, so let's bypass that. And next on the agenda is the financial reports. Holly.
Does anybody have any questions on the financial reports? And if you do, please let me know which one you're referring to.
I just had a logistical question, and it's probably something I ask every month. On the year-to-date,
Too many. I've been looking too many.
Line items or the budget
Line
totals?
items.
Okay.
Okay, you want
if we scroll, if I scroll down to the,
yeah, that's.
I think it's way down on page 28, to the gift fund,
Mhm.
it does
Yeah,
tell
I'll let
me
you
what
see.
has
I
been
know the
used,
summary
but
is-
what was much easier in the past was to look at that monthly statement that we got, and I don't, when I go to the to the first budget, year-to-date budget, I get an overview.
Mhm.
Line items.
If I go to the second rather extensive one, I do find what is being spent on a month-by-month basis. And I'm just curious as to whether there's a way we can get that information in a more simplistic form.
Yes, it would take me some time. I can tell you that there hasn't been any expenses out of the gift fund. It is
Right.
growing.
Yep.
We're receiving, just
Yep.
this past month, we received memoriam donations. I can certainly simplify things down. It's just been really tough for me to find enough time to play with this because I'm
Okay.
not an expert in it. But I can certainly give it a little bit more time
Okay.
for
I
June.
did find the information, but it just took me
you
a
a while.
while to skim through it, so.
I know, and I apologize. I normally highlight things. This month has just been really difficult for me to try to find enough time
Okay.
with everything going on.
All right,
Question,
yes.
will that be a part of your assistant director's job again when we finally get one?
Yeah, well, so what I plan on doing with the assistant director is, really being able to sit down and finding adequate time to go over and do Munis, because as you know, it's not an easy software system to run, but eventually I would like for them to take it on, and hopefully within a couple of months, they'll be able to do just that.
Thank you.
Other questions on the financial report? There being none, let's move on to the director's report.
So we'll start with Renee.
Okay. All right, so lately I've been getting a lot of questions about water utility assistance, since that information has been put out there during the last month or so. And that's due to the rescue plan that started last year during COVID. It's attached to fuel assistance. So people who are looking to apply for water assistance need to fill out a fuel assistance application. And once they're approved for fuel assistance, they will automatically be approved for water assistance. That deadline is Friday. So both the Council on Aging, through myself, and SYFS are still taking fuel assistance applications. They need to be received by SMOC on May 12th. So now's the time that we've been scanning them and sending them over. The other thing is, so last year, the water assistance was for people who are in arrears. This year, it's for all people who qualify for fuel assistance who have public water. So that's a really great program.
What's the criteria for being eligible for that, Renee?
So the criteria is qualifying for fuel assistance, and if I'm remembering the numbers on the top of my head, for a single person household, it's $43,100 a year, and for a two-person household, it's about $55,000 a year. And then, of course, it goes up with each family member. The income level goes up. There's no asset qualification for that, only the income derived from the asset. And also, I've been getting a lot of questions about the new property tax assistance program that the town of Shrewsbury has started. It's called Standing with Shrewsbury. It runs similarly to the personal tax exemption programs, the 41D, the veterans, blind persons, things like that, with income and asset qualifications. Those other programs have to be applied for by April 1st. This one is a May 15th deadline. So all the applicants and applications and the associated paperwork needs to be in by the end of the day, Monday, for that program.
And that is assets as well as income?
That's correct. And it's a little bit higher qualification, so more people with a little bit higher income and assets can qualify for that. The gross single income is $33,251. For a married couple, it's $49,878, and the assets are $53,500. So, that's approximately $6,000 higher for a single. The assets are approximately $7,000 or $8,000 higher. So you're getting to help a little bit more people that way. And that program will also go every year. So the first program I mentioned is April 1st. This will be May 15th every year. So people still have time.
Do you have this information somewhere that we can pass it on to any senior needed?
Yeah, so seniors have been coming to me. They've been getting it from the assessors department. I don't have a flyer for that. I have to get that from the assessors, and our website's not very easy. It's not very user-friendly. I couldn't even find the information until I called the assessor's office. I do have the application if people need it.
Okay, and would the application specify what the, who qualifies for it?
It really does not. No. So I mean, I have this written out. If I can't get something from the assessor's office, I'll have to make up a sheet myself. But probably the easiest thing to do is to go right to the assessor's office and get all of the information that you need.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. So that's those programs. So we have a few programs going on. We have on May 15th, from 1:30 to 2:30, Internet Safety for Seniors. And a high school student has approached us as part of her, her capstone project to do this program. And I worked with her to do a PowerPoint presentation, so, you know, we're really good there. And Lieutenant Jason Palmetier is going to be joining us as well on that. Also, we're going to start a new program, a new series called Coffee with a Cop. It's going to be the first Monday of each month from 9 to 10:30 in the senior center lobby. And basically, it's about, this is a branded Chiefs of Police program to encourage people to get to know their officers in their community and, you know, discuss safety issues and anything that's on your mind. It's very informal. There's no agenda. So basically, it's about inviting those who live, work, and visit the town of Shrewsbury for our Coffee with a Cop program with officers from the Shrewsbury Police Department. This is a great opportunity to get to know our officers and our neighbors and discuss public safety concerns and ask questions. And it's really to foster building and strengthening relationships in our community. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Which Mondays again?
The first Monday of the month.
First Monday, thank you.
Yeah. So Lieutenant Jason Palmetier will be there, as well as Officer Chad Chisna. And we hope to have rotating police officers who will come, who patrol the neighborhoods and things like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can you share that document with me so I can make sure it's in the June newsletter?
Yep. And lastly, I'm still working on getting a flyer for that. The Fraud Squad players out of Family Central. Oh my goodness, I'm losing it. The organization that does the RSVP program, the Retired Seniors Volunteer Program, out of Family Center of Central Mass.
Okay.
They have the Fraud Squad players, so they actually do skits to help seniors and others identify how to avoid scams and things like that. So we're having them here at the Senior Center June 15th.
Nice.
Yeah.
For just a presentation or a?
They'll do
do their-
skits.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, people can ask questions and
Yep.
things like that. So, yeah, and that will be, what's the time on that? Well, it'll be in the newsletter. I can't recall the time.
What
I
was the date
apologize.
again?
I'm sorry?
The date again?
June 15th.
June 15th, thank you.
Mhm.
Do you have any, is it morning, afternoon? It's not a lunchtime
Oh, gosh.
presentation.
I'm really sorry.
I'm just wondering-
I thought I wrote down the date, and I can't
I'm
I
just
can't put
wondering
my finger
whether
on it.
we might be able to offer some refreshments.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Coffee, tea, cookie, something.
that sounds
We
good.
could- I'm sure there's money in the gift fund to do that.
All right, yeah. All right, I'll get back to you with a date and time.
Is that the internet safety one you're talking about right now?
No, that's the Fraud Squad players. I haven't made that flyer yet. Usually I try to get a description from the person who's I've been in contact with, but I made the arrangement so long ago that I have to reconnect with them, so, that's why I'm a little bit lost at the moment. I apologize.
That's fine.
Yeah,
It-
yeah.
As long as we're not talking about a lunchtime presentation.
Yeah, I don't.
If we
no.
could just
No,
provide
it's
some
not.
refreshments, it might be nice.
Yeah, definitely. And also with the coffee with a cop, we're
Yeah.
going to provide refreshments for that.
Good.
too.
That is, the Fraud Squad players are on June 15th from 12:30 to 2 o'clock.
Okay, so I get it does overlap the lunch.
Lunch ends at 12:30, so you should be fine. They're usually cleaned up by then.
Okay,
Perfect.
good, all right.
And that's in the senior center?
In the senior center, yep,
Will that be in the newsletter?
it will. Mm-hmm. Yep, I think that's all I have for the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We should get free McPhee or not.
So Jean, your number 2 was actually something that you asked to be put on the agenda, the
Yes.
COA information.
Yes, the Council on Aging information I had actually asked about in terms of the way information gets disseminated. I know that when Holly sends out emails to all of us, they are to the individual and everyone else gets a blind copy in order to adhere to the open meeting law. And I know I feel sometimes that I would love to hear what other members have to say about a particular issue that's being addressed, and whether there's a way that we can find out how we can all pull together and learn what other people are thinking and feeling and how it would impact our decision-making. So I know we can't do anything about the emails that go out and the way in which they go out in order to adhere to the open meeting law, but I didn't know if it might be an option for people to say to Holly via email, I have some thoughts about this, can we put it on the agenda? And any comments or questions or whatever, just so that all of us have an opportunity to be able to benefit from one another's thoughts and ideas and make better decisions for all of us.
Jean?
So, yes.
If I might. So one of the options too is, I don't know if you've noticed, but whenever I send an email, I always copy and paste that email into the COA board drive. There is a opportunity for comments in those documents. So if you look at the top of the, whether it's a Google Doc or a Google Excel spreadsheet, there's an opportunity where you can hit like a little talking, like a little comment button.
Yeah.
And it generates right onto that same document. I can send everybody kind of a FYI tutorial if you want, so you can take a look at that. I know, Arun, you've probably noticed before or you've all noticed, especially when I was doing the line items for the budget, each month, I'll put comments just to, remind everybody what this stands for or things like that. So we can do that same thing in the Google Drive also.
Okay. Are there any other thoughts or comments? Yes.
Does a town, do they have like a discussion board where you could have a topic and others could comment on it? I don't know whether such a tool would exist with the town.
Not that I know of. To me, that sounds just like having an email back and forth. I did talk to Kevin, the town manager, about this a little bit, and, basically he said, being able to relay all of the information and have conversations, just as you said, really should get put on the agenda if there's things to talk about. But keeping in mind that, we only have an hour and a half to discuss those things, and making sure, that we at least put the ones that are most important discussed at the top of the agenda in case we can't get to the rest of them.
Who defines the time frame for these meetings? Do we? I mean, if we think over time we need to expand the meeting to 2 hours, is that a prerogative we have?
Sure. So,
Okay.
yep, when I,
I
so when.
know it's not something you want to do, but.
Well, so when I first started here, the first couple of months, the board meeting was actually going like 3 hours, and that was just too much for me. It's too much to take away from the me from the office, but the thing is, we talked about so much, I went back to the office with twice as much work as what I came in with. So, I would like, if we're gonna extend it, I'd like to think about 2 hours as capping it. And I also have to be able to see, that's probably something that we should consider maybe like in August, because we usually take July off, and that was something I was gonna bring up anyways, because, to allow time, because people have booked this room ahead of time to see if like we can fit the 2 hours in.
And if not here, we could do it at the senior center.
Yes, the senior center is not as easy, and I will tell you that there is very few times that are available at the
Okay.
senior center.
Okay. Well, any comments? How do other people feel about this issue?
Which issue, Jean? Are you talking about
The
expanding
way in
time
which
or the-
information gets disseminated and how we can all be a more integral part of that.
I was just curious to learn that we cannot CC all the board members as per the open meeting law. So is there a rationale behind it?
Well, so if I might, so we've mentioned this a lot. So the problem is if you CC board members, you're breaking the open meeting law. And I'm happy to share the open meeting law with you to review. It's an opportunity where, you know, something could get misplaced in an email, and that's why those discussions have to be in a monthly agenda meeting.
Is it true that the open meeting law, as long as you're not voting on something and you're only discussing, say, scheduling kind of things, not agenda items, but, you know, scheduling and, you know, meeting times and that sort of stuff,
But I think that would be a bit different if you're just disseminating information about a meeting time or a place.
right,
No one is going to have any questions about that.
yeah,
If you're asking or telling people this is what we want to look at addressing at our next meeting. There isn't a way around the blind CC, because I've already talked to the town moderator about it, and I know we have to adhere to that, but I just feel like sometimes I lose input from other people that I think would be helpful for me in decision-making.
Jean, if I might. So for instance, one of the things that I like to do is something that I like to send the board out an email ahead of time before the agenda comes out or before we meet, so everybody can think about what they want to say. 9 out of 10 times when it is a big topic on the agenda, I always want to give you as much information as I possibly can in an email. So hopefully I answer all of your questions prior to coming here. But then it's easier once we get here, so people can say, Holly, you said this in your email, what does this mean? Or what does everybody think about what Holly said in her email? We discussed that, but it is a topic on the agenda. And I think that I have been doing that along the way and will continue to do that. But all people have to do is, if you have something for me, just call me or email me, and I will put it on the agenda. Jean looks at the agenda each month.
Yeah, Alex?
I think the thing that also becomes time limiting, though, is if it is discussed at the next board meeting, for example, and a decision needs to be made then, I mean, under Robert's rules, you can always table it to the next meeting. Yeah, but I see what you're saying. We are a little bit constrained by that. And I also thought, well, we can't take action and like we can't convene a quorum. But are we prohibited from, you know, us calling each other and talking about something one-on-one?
No,
I wouldn't think so.
no, there's just no group meetings that would make a quorum, is what
It
it
would
is.
make a quorum.
Yeah.
So it would be 4 of our 7.
I thought, though, even doing that, you can't have it be something that adds up to a quorum for making a decision, like recruiting people. I thought, in other words, you can talk to somebody one-on-one about an issue, but it can't then travel to the next person, because then it's like we're having a meeting. I think,
Right.
I had
think you're
talked to the town manager about that, and that was one of the things that he clarified for me.
No, but we could still have a meeting with 3 people. So I could still call, like, let's just say, I mean, I meet with sometimes Betsy in a room for the activities committee. That's not breaking any open meeting law. So as long as it's, like I said, only 2 other people, so it would be groups of people. And I wanna say that at the maximum is 3 in a group, but I'm not 100% sure.
And even beyond that, we could convene a subcommittee, we
That's
just have
right.
to publicize it. And I presume take minutes.
If people, if emails go out and we have an option for answering them, and if you want to send out the tutorial on how to do that, I think that's one option. And I also think something very simple is to just ask Holly to put it on the agenda. If you have any thoughts or comments, or
Sure.
not even questions, just I'd like to hear what other people have to say about this. So,
And Jean, so when this came up, what I was trying to do when I think Judy had emailed me about something last month, what I usually do is when anybody emails me and I feel as though the board needs to know, I usually copy and paste and take that and say, you know, or I was asked this, I will say that, I was asked this was the discussion that we had. And then the conversations can trickle like that as long as they come through me and not through the entire board. So there's definitely ways around it, for sure, and I will look up that tutorial for the Google Docs
Okay.
for comments.
all right, thank you. Veterans gift cards?
Yes, so, we have a gentleman, he is a veteran, he comes into the senior center and he does a lot of work to try to get $25 gift cards donated to him from Price Chopper. And Representative Hannah Kane has donated some funds, he's received some from the Rotary, et cetera. He is finding it more and more difficult to get people to donate money so we can get the Price Chopper gift cards. With the veterans agent over at the senior center, they don't get a spending fund at all. They have no budget. So I know how important this is. We get every single month, they're allowed to come over into the senior center and get one $25 gift card a month. They're supposed to show us, they have to show us their veterans card. And we sign their name out, they get their card, and they get to go. We haven't had any cards in the past couple of weeks, and I would like to support this initiative that this veteran is doing for our Shrewsbury senior veterans, and request that the board approve $1,000 be taken out of the gift fund so I can purchase $25 gift card, Price Chopper gift cards for the Shrewsbury veterans.
Is that a motion?
I can't make that
Can't make
motion.
a motion.
Is there a special reason why only Price Chopper and not any other?
Well, before we have further discussion, let's make a motion. Could someone?
I make a motion that we allocate $1,000 to purchase $25 gift cards for the veterans in Shrewsbury.
Is there a second? All right, discussion. Go ahead, Mina.
No, is there a special reason why only Price Chopper is picked, or just?
So originally, when this gentleman started, Price Chopper was the one that came forward and actually helped for a little bit, but that it no longer is there. So I guess we could get gift cards anywhere as long as it's a shopping market. I don't want to change what this gentleman has worked so hard to do. I would ask that if the board approves this, to let me talk with the veteran that I've been working with to see what he is comfortable with.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
Alex?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
I guess from an accounting control point of view, I would think we need him to keep track of the disbursements.
We actually keep
disbursements
track of it.
cards. Okay.
So we in the senior center keep track. We have a list. We have a safe little area where the cards go, and the receptionist and/or staff write everybody's names down, their address, everything, just so we can keep tallies on where everything is going.
So what does he do?
Who?
The gentleman you're
He
talking
was,
about.
he was going out soliciting donations for the cards, and he has been
Oh, I
working
see.
with me for marketing and advertising purposes. I'm sure you've seen it in the newsletters, or there's been flyers, I put it on Facebook.
Can I make a suggestion?
Holly? I'm sorry.
Betsy.
Betsy.
You might want to suggest that he reach out to Market Basket. They're new to town and they may be looking to create some goodwill by maybe even matching whatever we can get, or they might be willing to do something.
Just a,
Go ahead.
it may also be a location issue, and I don't know if that's true or not. Market Basket is further away than a lot of the central area of Shrewsbury. And it could be that maybe we do like half in one place and half in another, so that you have, if somebody's coming, it's easier for them. They might not want to travel as far to one or to the other, so just a suggestion. And I don't know if that's a consideration for this particular senior.
So like I said, since he's put this all together and he's working now with Jeff Farrell, the new veterans agent, I'd like to confer with him to see what he's comfortable with. I did let him know that I was bringing this up at the agenda meeting, so he is excited to hear back from me for whatever the board should decide.
Alex?
You may not know this, but do veterans come in asking for the cards and asking for other locations besides Price Chopper?
Not that I know of, and bless you, one of the reasons I believe would be the fact that on the flyers that I send out, it says Price Chopper. So they don't come in and ask for anything different.
Your request for $1,000 to buy cards, for how much time will that allow us to give the gift card? How frequently are they given out?
I can tell you that there's been times where he's given us 12 gift cards, and on the first of the month, because that's when people can start calling to get another month's worth, they're gone within probably 3 days.
So will we put a control on the amount, the number of cards we give out on a weekly or monthly basis?
No, no, how we control it is that one person only gets one a month. So if you think about it, this is a good way to gauge how many people are gonna come in that are veterans in our town that are looking for Price Chopper gift cards. So it would be good data for us, it would be very good data for the veterans agent to see who is coming in, and to be able to see how frequently numbers change or if it increases. But I wouldn't cap on how many we give out in a month. It's already capped at how many people get in a month.
And what is that number usually?
It varies. It depends on how many gift cards we have. I think the most we received at one time was 15, and they are all gone. And as I mentioned, we haven't had any in a couple of weeks now.
So $1,000 may not last very long.
It may not last very long, but what I'm looking to do is show support to our veterans and, like I said, to our veterans agent, Jeff Farrell. It won't last long, but I think it's a step in the right direction for people to see that the COA department is supporting our veterans and having the word get out.
You know, if I could, I think actually it is a good way to see what the need is, because since we only have so many a month, and I have veterans coming into my office asking, you know, are the cards out yet? And then they get turned away until we get more cards. So if we have them all at once and we get, you know, a bunch of veterans at once in a month or 2 months coming, and we see what the numbers are out of that $1,000, that could be really helpful.
That's what I was thinking. If we could do a pilot, maybe a 4-month pilot, and then look at the numbers, because if we're going, and I think it's a great idea. I would love to see the monies used for something like that. But it would give us an indication of whether we may, in the future, want to use some of our formula grant money as an ongoing option for this program.
So at this time, I'm working, and I have a couple other things to talk about budgets. I'm working really hard to make sure that our formula grant that we get for our FY '24 is allocated in different areas. And there hasn't been any word on whether or not the $12 to $14 increase has been put through yet. We probably may not hear even until July. Keep your fingers crossed. So,
My understanding is that it was approved in the House, but not the Senate yet.
okay. So again, fingers crossed, because that gives us a substantial amount of money to work with. But for this, what I'm asking is for $1,000 from the gift fund at this point.
Yes, Mina?
I just had one question. Do we know how many veterans are there in Shrewsbury?
I don't have that number. I'm sure Jeff would have that.
I mean,
Alex?
And would this be Shrewsbury veterans only?
Yes.
Or okay.
so I was thinking that if we know the number and say, and we want to cover all of them, so instead of $25, we could give $20 and cover everybody, if that's something doable.
So again, I don't know that number. I'm thinking it's probably quite high of how many veterans come in. Because he allows any veteran of any age. They don't have to be a Shrewsbury senior. It's veterans.
Could we make a friendly amendment to the motion saying that we will do this as a pilot program for 4 months and then look at the data and determine whether we want to continue? If
So-
we can afford to continue.
So to move forward for $1,000.
Yeah.
$25 increment gift cards.
For a 4-month
Or
period.
until they run out before.
Yeah.
So I think friendly amendments have to go back to the person who made the motion. Is that
So I
right?
make a friendly amendment, as stated by Jean Campanello.
Is there a second on the amendment?
Second.
Okay, so now we have a motion on the floor as amended to approve $1,000 removal from the gift fund to subsidize the Veterans Gift Card Program for 4 months.
Mhm.
And I would love to see the data after that.
Also, if we could get some counts, like from the person, like how many veterans
We have a
in
motion on the
Shrewsbury?
floor, so we need to vote for it
Okay.
before we,
Okay.
all in favor?
Yeah,
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Great.
Yeah, I would like to get a count on how many Shrewsbury veterans are here,
Okay,
so.
I'm sure we could get that. Isn't there a Veterans Department here?
Yeah, he'll be in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, FY '24 calendar activities. So as I just mentioned, I've been working really hard with the town, the budget that I've proposed, and I'm hoping that it goes through. And I've been working very hard for the formula grant for FY '24, as I just mentioned. And because of that, so as you all know, over the past couple of years, because we were under COVID, we were limited on where we could spend our money, and it started to roll over and roll over and roll over. Once the patio goes in, that rollover, I'm trying to eliminate. I would like to make sure we spend our entire formula grant down to the penny as we were once asked to do, or at maximum leaving $5,000 to go over. But I hate to do that with a grant. That's not what it's for. So with that said, for FY '24, the plan that I see happening is that we won't be able to afford to do all of the lunches that we've done in the past, you know, the St. Patty's meals, we did the Valentine's meal last year. We've done a couple of different meals, but the two that I do want to keep on our board, our calendar to keep budgeting, is the Veterans Luncheon in November and the Volunteer Luncheon that's usually in the spring. Those are the two. The Volunteer Luncheon is already, it was originally part of the Green Guide that EOEA had sent out, so that will always remain the same. As I already mentioned, the veterans agent, they don't have a budget to work with, and I feel as though the last 2 years with our veterans luncheon that we've had, it has grown above and beyond, and people are so very, very thankful for those opportunities that we've been able to provide at the senior center. So what I would like to do is I wanted to let you know here and then work with the Friends group going forward, and hopefully they can take over some of those luncheons that we were doing in the past that were so well received. We have, I feel as though if the Friends are able to take that over with their members and their volunteers that they have and the volunteers that we have used in the past, I feel as though it would be very easy, a lot better coordinated and rhythmic between the two groups. So that is what I am wanted to talk to the board about today and get any feedback.
Go ahead.
So are you in communication with the Friends group, and do you think they would be receptive to taking on those other luncheons?
So I usually try to attend the Friends meeting that they have every single month to update them on things going forward. I have made them aware that I don't have anything going on in the future, but I have not yet reached out to them because I wanted to talk to the board about this first. I can tell you that each of those luncheons that we were having ultimately cost anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500. That's a lot of money to keep doing the luncheons. They were great, and they got people back into the senior center, and, you know, people, one of the ways through everybody's hearts is through their stomach, so it's always one of those things where people, if you mention food, people will come. I'd hate to see it go away, so I'm hoping that the Friends will be able to continue to help us. If not, this is something that, again, may have to dip into the gift fund going forward.
I don't know what the Friends' budget is. I don't know whether they have the ability, if lunches are costing at least $2,000 to $3,000. I don't know what their resources are in their budget,
Well,
so.
so those were the lunches that we also incorporated entertainment. We usually had like the little gift bags. We were trying to go above and beyond to pull people back into the senior center. And I believe that it worked. And now people look and we get a lot of phone calls of people saying, are you going to have this luncheon? Are you going to have this luncheon or this luncheon? And it can't always happen like that. And a lot of our formula grant moving for fiscal year '24, and I will share the revised document that I'm kind of trying to work with you. A lot of it's operational for the formula grant. So,
So which lunches are you suggesting become eliminated?
So in the past, we've done the St. Patrick's Day meals. We have done what was the most recent one?
It was
Valentine's Day.
But we did that instead of St. Patrick's.
Yeah, we did that one instead of St. Patrick's. We have never done Thanksgiving. I'm trying to go through all of the things in my head.
Yeah, I don't recall.
No December. I'm having a brain block right now because I know we've had a lot of luncheons.
2 a year.
Yeah, probably at least 2 a year. Or no, we were doing 3 or 4 a year, but we'll have to reduce them down.
I'm not sure, at this point, we don't know what the Friends can
Right.
provide.
Mhm.
But if the lunches for St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day, et cetera, got eliminated,
Mhm.
and we maintained the volunteer and the veterans lunch,
Mhm.
that seems more doable.
Yes. Yes.
So perhaps we could start at that point to determine what, if anything, the Friends can offer, but at least make sure that neither of those get eliminated.
Right. So, yes, so I want to fund, so when I send you the budget, you'll see that I'll have allocated aside for the veterans lunch and the volunteer lunch for the year. I think what possibly happens, right, is if people keep seeing we're doing them, they just assume we're gonna keep doing them. So until I tell the Friends that we're not doing them anymore, and that opens up an opportunity for them to be able to do a well-attended event, and to be able to utilize the volunteers that we have at the senior center, the kitchen staff, that they're fantastic. They may be more likely to say yes, because they'll know that they have the more help, because at the end of the day, it's really about how many people can assist making it work.
If I might.
Betsy?
I think it's a good suggestion in a way to collaborate with the Friends. It's one of the things that we talked about on the Activities Committee. It's a concrete request that seems like it would fit into their purpose for being, if you will. But I also think there was just I think it was in the last week or two, a report on the loneliness of seniors and the danger of the loneliness of seniors, the isolation and loneliness. And this would be one of the strategies that could address seniors who may be lonely. Socialization, bring them here, give them lunch, allow them to socialize at different tables. So I think it has various purposes. And I think it's a good suggestion for the Friends to be offered.
Lori?
Continuing on with what you're saying is, it's also having something on the calendar to look forward to, because if you know it's coming, then even if you're feeling a little lonely right now, it's hope, because it's something that you're looking forward to. And I think that's true not just of seniors, I think it's just true of people. You know, you have something to look forward to that's on your schedule on a daily basis or a monthly or weekly. And I think that, and then to have it be a socialization, I think it would be great. And the fact that they're so well attended and enjoyed, I just wouldn't want them to disappear.
Right.
I guess that's but you said if we had to, if we still want to do at least one of them, then we could possibly dip into the gift fund.
Yeah, and we could.
If we decide that as a,
Absolutely, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Okay.
cut you off. And we could change it every year. We could add a different one every single year.
So Holly, would you be the one to reach out to the Friends to see if they would collaborate with us on this?
Yes, so what I've been doing lately with the Friends is I put them all on an email. I share information with them. I give them updates, I tell them if an entertainer is looking for them. I will create an email for them and send it out to them to let them know how we're going to be proceeding for the fiscal year '24. And to let them know that the lunches that we have put on in the past, other than the two that I've talked about, will no longer happen, and if they're interested, that we would be happy to collaborate with the volunteers that we have. The only thing else I want to mention is one of the things, so starting in July, as you all know, our hours are changing, so we'll be open later on Tuesdays. One of the things that I'm thinking about is one Tuesday a month, whether it be the first Tuesday, which is probably the easiest way to do it, having like a pizza party at the senior center at 4:30. So to get people in a little bit later so they know, because again, like I said, it's through food that we get more people at the senior center that come out, which would provide an opportunity to also share any other information that's happening at the same time. So that's one of the things I'm considering, because a couple party pizzas isn't going to hurt anything.
Does the participation at the senior center decrease in the summertime?
Yes.
To what extent?
It honestly, like last year, it depends on the weather, because it was so incredibly hot last year, we didn't get a lot of foot traffic, or it was foot traffic that came in and then they left right away. There was no really kind of hanging out. And people are on vacations, things like that. But what I have also found, I don't know if Renee finds it, but it's also one of the loneliest. A lot of people think that Christmas and things like that make people sad. A lot of families go away and leave their grandparent or whomever at home while they're on vacation. So the summer is just as lonely as the Christmas time. So we always still try to do more opportunities at the center. One of the things that we're looking into is to go to Hampton Beach. There's a lot of people that haven't been to the beach in years and years and years, so we're looking to try to incorporate more opportunities to utilize the vans this summer to get out and about.
Good.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
It's okay. Strategic plan?
Yes, the strategic plan. So I shared the consulting proposal with the board. One of the things, I have met with Kevin, and I did get in touch with the consultant. And one of the things that she would like to offer, just as we were talking about before, is to meet with the board in two separate groups, so there isn't a lot of conversation going on at one time. She said that she'd be happy to do that, to get an idea of what people are looking for. I'm gonna sneeze. But I'll let you keep talking.
I just, are there any questions or comments about the strategic plan?
If I might, Judy emailed me, and she said she looked at the contract and she thought it looked good.
Okay. Did we get more than one proposal? Did you,
I have not, no.
Like the cost.
should we be doing that so that we have an opportunity to identify what our best use of our money is?
Yeah, I was scared.
I think that if there is a reason to not accept this contract, that we should. We can certainly get more. It is time-consuming. I don't know how much time I have available, and I have reached out to a couple, before I met this person, I did reach out to a couple others, with no response back. So I worry about that also.
Okay. Yes, Alex?
And I presume for this dollar amount, which is not considerable, we're not violating any procurement guidelines for the town.
So I shared this with Kevin, and he looked it over, he thought it looked fine.
Isn't the guideline anything over 2,000 you have to get 3 proposals for?
It's, no, well, it's quite high. I don't know what it is for something on this magnitude, but for instance, for the patio, I had to get 3. I think
Yeah.
it's $10,000.
10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Arun?
Can you help me understand like how this strategic plan would help day-to-day operations for COA? Like,
So just like the town made their strategic plan and released it, it gives you a direction of where you want your efforts and your vision and your mission to go. So as I tried to explain as the best I could in the email, the COA strategic plan that we currently have up on the website, it's a working document, and it's something that needs to be updated all the time. It's more of an operational plan than it is a strategic plan at this point. So what would be best is to have a guide, just as the town has their strategic plan. I don't know if you've all seen it yet, but it's broken down into different categories and where those categories are going to go for the town of Shrewsbury. I would like to create something that is very similar to that, so it shows our direction of where we're going, because we no longer need that working document, because since then, in the past 2 years, Kevin Mizikar has put together performance goals for each department, and that ends up being part of the operational plan also. So the current COA strategic plan that, like I said, we have up online is very confusing. It would have to come down and be edited and revised literally all of the time. I would have to work on it. And that's not what the strategic plan should be. It should be more of a guidance that,
Like a roadmap.
yeah, I feel like yes, exactly. Thank you. I was losing my words and kept saying the same thing over and over.
and would they have any special insights when it comes to seniors? Have they done? And I think this organization might have done some work with the library. I
Yep,
presume,
so this organization did do the library strategic plan. She has worked with all different populations. I shared with her the town strategic plan. I shared with her our strategic plan that's there now. And one of the things I plan on doing is sharing with her the FY '24 goals. So for the department, so she can kind of see what direction the town is gonna be, that we're gonna be going into every single year. I also shared with her the SWOT analysis that that the whole COA staff did, just so she understood where, you know, again, what our strengths and weaknesses are. She has a couple of ideas on that where I'm sure she'll explain better than I can to you on the objectives of each area of the strategic plan and what they'll be. And we'll be working together on that for FY '24. So her plan is to start in August, and the plan is to be, so it's completed before FY '25.
Alex?
And this may be too early in the process, but are you thinking of revisiting the SWOT analysis and including the board? And, I mean, what would be the board's role in this?
So I believe that the board's role should be helping with the direction of where the strategic plan should go, what our focus is, and to make sure that it's related to what our mission and vision is. I always talk about the COA department and the senior center that we have, I split us up into 4 different categories, and you can see those categories in every single email that I send out. It has that little clip-it on the bottom. It's outreach program, nutrition, and transportation. So as those are the 4 main categories that I would like to see in our strategic plan, and then we break them down with our performance goals and department goals and things like that. I really do suggest, if you haven't looked at the town strategic plan, grab a copy. I'm sure they have some over at the town manager's office. It's really, it's easy to follow, it's easy to understand, and that's what I would like to see for the same thing for the COA department, something that's easy to understand with a direction.
I noticed that under the assumptions, the consulting services will be delivered virtually off-site. Will she not be spending any time here at all?
No. So she does all of her work remote.
And how will she interact with board members? I thought you said
So-
she wanted to.
Yep, so that would be a virtual meeting that I would set up over at the senior center.
That concerns me a little bit, that she's not actually visualizing the site and the area and what she sees as assets and liabilities in terms of the physical structure. I would wonder if that is something we could include in this proposal, that she at least do a site visit. I would think that is important to the overall strategic plan.
Is there a conversation on this?
I feel the same way. I think it's very, our virtual world is helpful in many ways, but there are times when you still need to be face-to-face and you need to see a facility. I think you need to understand the spaces you're dealing with without just looking at something online, and understand the feeling of the place, because you can't get that just handing somebody a piece of paper or looking at it online. And I guess I was picking up on that too when I was reading this. It's like, are they ever going to show up? And I have a problem with that.
It also says, under the assumptions, the COA will coordinate all project stakeholder communications. Normally, when I've done these kinds of things, they've had in-person stakeholder group meetings. And again, I think doing it virtually, I mean, we've all become pretty conversant in that media, but doesn't mean we love it. And I agree with Lori that I think they need to do some in person, which amends the scope, but
I think at minimum, you want them to see the facility.
Yes.
And meet with the board at least once. Maybe another one could be virtual, right? But you were saying that she wanted to have the number of people smaller, to have 2 meetings with only certain numbers of people?
To just get a better idea of ideas, but clearly that isn't what the board wants to do. So I will definitely reach out to her and let her know about the concerns, and your requests, and see what she says.
I would think if she were able to do a site visit, even to meet with Renee or the staff that does the meal preparation, with the board, just to get a sense of, this is what we're all about, and how do we develop a strategic plan that will meet everybody's needs?
I think it promotes trust, too. I mean, personal interactions with a real person really promotes more trust and comfort than I think virtual does. And I know I'm a little old school there, but I think there's an awful lot of people that are getting back to that, too, and understanding that. And it's something that I worked with young people at college to help them understand. You can't do everything virtually.
Other comments? We don't need a motion on this, okay. Look, Holly, the money that is paying for this strategic plan, what account is that coming from?
That would come out of the formula grant.
The formula grant, and there's sufficient money in the formula
Yep,
grant?
that's why I'm working with the budget. As a matter of fact, if we can stay on this topic just for a second, I forgot to mention something before. So I evaluated all of the Memory Cafe's expenses, and they're not even meeting $200 a month, and we've allocated $4,000 for them for the year. I would like the board to consider reducing the amount that we allocate for the Memory Cafe to $2,500, and the reason being, so it allows that money to be spent elsewhere without trying to guess where we're going to put it.
And that's coming from
That, memory,
GIF fund, right?
no,
Memory Cafe?
Memory Cap, well, I started having it come from, the formula grant.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, yes.
Yeah, and as we might be thinking about future programs, as the respite program comes to an end in June, and we start thinking about whether, after we look at the data and, write the report for Mass Council on Aging and determine whether we want to support it off-site and not respite, or whether we want to continue at the senior center, that could be a potential expense if we consider that we'd like to do that, and/or, if there are grants available as well.
I would think there would be grants available for that kind of,
There could be, and then some grants require matching funds, you don't know.
right.
Yeah. And the other thought was, if we start getting a little bit more expansive with a food insecurity program, and I've been kind of thinking about how do we support the food banks that are here in town by providing another opportunity for people to come potentially to the senior center, and thinking about something like that. And we may even get different people who come to the senior center who might then avail themselves of coming in and joining things. So just kind of thinking about other types of things.
that, I had a question about the food, the food resources. We're getting very tangential now, and I know we still have a subcommittee report, but I just wanted some clarification in terms of what we do for food and how that impacts with the Rotary Club and their food kitchen out there, and who oversees the not the security, but the responsibility for maintaining safety issues around food.
My suggestion, can we put that on the agenda for
Sure.
June?
Sure, absolutely, yes. Thank you. Okay, Activities Committee is next. Arun and Betsy.
So, as we look at the spreadsheet that we created and shared with you last month, you'll note that just in our meeting today, several of the items that were discussed and are actually taking place are on our spreadsheet. For example, we had generated under the category of financial wellness, cybersecurity workshops. And as we noted today, on the 15th, there's the Internet Security Program, and then in June on the 15th, the Fraud Squad Players. both of those are items that were things that we felt were important to create as activities for the seniors in Shrewsbury. Additionally, we talked about collaborating with the Shrewsbury Library. We haven't officially done that yet, but I was online looking at the programs that the library's offering, and several of those programs actually are related to the things that we think would be activities that would be important. They've got a Tech Tuesday, introduction to Google Suites, for example, for computers, Get Started with Libby, the Google Docs, Google Drive, all of those things are things that we had generated on our list. In addition, we had talked about helping the Friends to come up with some ideas that they might be willing to support, I guess, or sponsor, that would support our seniors. And we had that very discussion today as well, asking them to talk about the, Holly, you'll take care of that, to talk about offering those special lunches, the additional lunches that we're not going to move forward with. So I think that we are, starting to just, actually, not us, but the group is starting to meet the needs of some of the ideas that are on this spreadsheet. We haven't received any ideas officially on the Google Drive from any of the board members. So again, we would encourage you, if you have thoughts and ideas that you want to add to this spreadsheet, please either put them on the Google Drive or email either of us, and we can update the spreadsheet, and we will. We're going to be meeting very briefly after this meeting. If anybody wants to stay, if you have some thoughts and ideas. I'm looking at the time, so I don't want to take up too much more time. I think that would be our,
Just a clarification, we got some ideas from Jean regarding some areas that we could work.
yes.
And then maybe with some inputs from the board, we could start prioritizing it. Hey, maybe how could we start operationalizing and kind of getting some of these done as well.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question in relation to the idea getting. I had an opportunity when I was away with a friend to go visit a senior center in North Carolina, and it was very eye-opening. Now, it seemed like they'd been building for a long time and they had more resources. And I know it makes more work, but I didn't know if we would want to think about a field trip to maybe some senior centers that we know about that are doing really well, and that maybe we could even meet with their staff or their boards to see if we can incorporate ideas into things that we might want to do. I know you had a huge folder, you said, of lots of ideas, and you did too. And I'm sure that's from all of your experience in the industry. And I didn't know, it might be interesting for the board to be able to see too, not to make more work for you two, but more just ideas that, we're talking about a strategic plan, that maybe it could be fun to find out what could be possible, maybe not just this year, but 5 years from now, maybe something we could work towards that we hadn't even thought about. I don't know, it was just something that popped into my head after having visited that senior center, so.
It's like
for idea getting.
innovations.
Yeah, innovations, and the place that I visited actually had 3 buildings just for the senior center. They had their own gym. And that was where they actually do exercises and had basketball and things like that. Now, that's not something that, we could probably deal with right now, but, we've talked about other things, like pickleball courts and improving other areas. So I just thought it might be interesting. I thought it was interesting just as a Rotarian to go to other Rotary meetings, because that's one of the things you're encouraged to do, because you can get an idea of their fundraising. And so, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there as an idea.
Was it a community center or simply a senior center?
I think
I
people are
should let you
waiting
go if they're
outside.
waiting.
Okay.
But it's something to
All
think
right.
about.
I just have a quick, under old business, the Council on Aging Board website needs to be updated.
I know.
It doesn't indicate, there's no office for president on the site, and some of the information is wrong, so that needs to be done. Any update on the assistant director?
We're checking references on one candidate.
Okay.
I meant to announce the Pet Health Fair, May 18th, 11 to 3. Our vet mobile for the vet clinic is full. We have 24 appointments filled up.
Wow.
Oh, we also have the adoption unit, so if you're thinking of adopting a pet, please come by.
All right, I know that, Minu, you wanted to talk about car washing. We can postpone that till
Yeah,
the June
next-
meeting?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed?
Aye.
Adjourned.